It was the first time that the state really put a lot of pressure on media. So, as you said, the owner of Der Spiegel, Rudolf Austein himself, was imprisoned, and some other people of the Spiegel, and that was the first time that really the state put out his strongest arms against the media. The result was that the public was enraged and was really supporting the Spiegel, and there was protests here in Berlin, not far away from here. Big protest against the authorities and against the state. And at the end, the responsible secretary had to resign. So if you want, you can say the Spiegel won at the end. And I think it was the first time that the German society really discussed the issue about how far media should go and can go, and how they can deal with so-called state secrets. In comparison to today, what the Spiegel was publishing was nothing big. I mean, it was just a report about the state of the Bundeswehr and the whole defense system. And if you would publish it today, I think nobody would talk about it. But I think it was the first time that kind of documents were published, and that's why the state authorities were very, I think it was they felt it as an attack on their power, and they were saying it's not allowed to get into our insights and into our internal discussion, and that's why they had to punish Der Spiegel. The decision was that it was allowed to publish these things, and that's why the secretary Franz Josef Strauß had to resign as a result of these publications, or as a result of the state or of the steps the authority. What we see at the moment is that the pressure on the sources, on the whistleblowers, do increase. Because we had the revelations by Edward Snowden, we had a big investigative committee here about the cooperation between NSA and our foreign service, the BND. And there were many leaks during that process. So, for example, Der Spiegel published many new information about the cooperation, and really big scandals, like that the BND was doing exactly or nearly the same like the NSA, and the sources were either in the authorities or in the parliamentarian circle. And what we see at the moment is that the pressure by the government increases to find out who are the sources and to get them quiet. Fortunately, it didn't happen to the Spiegel so far, because we really work hard on secure our sources. But we had one case with a blog. It's called Netzpolitik. They're a blog on the internet, and they are focused on security issues. And they published an internal confidential paper of the Bundesverfassungsschutz, which is the internal intelligence service here in Germany, and they got nearly punished because the state attorney started an investigation, and it just stopped it after the Secretary of Justice intervened and was saying it's not allowed to prosecute the media because of a whistleblower. So that was the first time, I would say, where really the discussion inside the German government started. Shall we prosecute whistleblowers in the media who are publishing confidential material or not? I mean, by law, it was probably not allowed to get this material and publish it. But then you have the public interest. So it's always the battle between the public interest and the law. In this case, the public interest won because the Secretary of Justice was stopping the whole investigation, and the state attorney was fired. It started a big discussion in Germany about about the big issue. What should intelligence services should be allowed to do and what not? And what about data? And what about data security? And I mean, there was a big discussion and debate, especially after it was clear that even our chancellor was intercepted by the NSA. And the result was that, as I said, the Bundestag, our parliament, installed an investigative committee to find out the details about that cooperation and why the German intelligence services were so open to cooperate with the NSA. And at the end, there was a new law which is discussed right now and will be in order, I think, in January, which tries to control the work of the BND, of the Foreign Intelligence Service, a bit more, a bit better. I mean, there are critics who say the law is not good because it allows the BND more than before. There are others who are saying, okay, at least they are saying, for example, it's not allowed to spy on our partners in the EU, except for terrorist issues and other stuff. But you can say it's a result. If you find it good or not, it's discussable. The NSA is not only targeting terrorists and finding out who is talking, which terrorist is talking to whom, but also they did a mass surveillance to find out, to pick out the things they are interested in. And the point is the mass surveillance, so intercepting more than millions of phone calls, emails, blah, blah. That's a thing the public needs to know. And the same with our intelligence service, that they were spying on everybody here in Berlin, on all the embassies and on the partners in the EU. Nobody knew. So even the government said, we didn't know that. Even the head of the Foreign Intelligence Service said, I didn't know that. That was my department. They did it on their own. So it's about transparency of very basic things the intelligence services are doing, and the question, should they be allowed to do it or not? It's not about, okay, they have the strategy how to find out where Al-Qaeda in Yemen is located and how they intercept it. We never published that kind of stuff. It's more about the basic rules of and the basic work of intelligence services, and the question, is it legal? Is it by public interest? And shouldn't we discuss it at least once? And then they can do the work. As long as when we finished the discussion and said, okay, that's fine, you can do that. That's too far because you got into private life of not terrorist citizens. you shouldn't do that. So when we have a base and a debate, then afterwards they can do what they want on the legal base we discussed.
You got this information from people that are not easy to handle, because these people, of course, get this and have taken this information illegally. And you have to think about this, and you have to think about what their interest is and what their impact is, and why they gave you these documents, and are these all the documents, or has he, well, tried to focus and the information in a special way to give a story a special spin. So you have to be aware of that all, and you have to be very careful to handle this material. The most important is that the whistleblower knows he can trust you, you will protect him, and you will never break what you have promised. That's the basic. You absolutely have to know what reasons he has to be a whistleblower. Is he someone that wants money? Spiegel doesn't pay money normally. Is it because, well, is it a wife that is angry because her husband left her and she has all the documents and bank accounts? Great, you can't have a better partner. Is it someone who wants to hurt his former company? You have to know why he is willing that and what the reason was why they have fired him. So you have to try to learn as much about the person you are dealing with as you can. You have to do background checks. Who is he? Who might it be? What is his background? What are the true reasons why he wanted to work with you? And because that will even show you, does he tell you the whole story, or does he just tell you part of the story? Was he involved in a crime and try to make his role as small as possible? Or is he just one who was neutral and just, well, yeah, has knowledge of something? We even got whistleblowers that changed their mind afterwards. People that that's not my story, but I know a colleague of mine did a story some years ago where there was a whistleblower and he didn't have much documents, but everything he thought seems to be right. And that after the publishing day, the company turned him around. So he denied everything and said, "Oh, I've never been involved in that. I don't know things," and so that really, well, was a problem for Der Spiegel at that time. So, yeah.
He was sued by the company.
He was sued. This guy, I think, was sued by the company.
No,
Der Spiegel was sued by the company, yeah, and it was not easy to defend us because, well, we hadn't the documents. We only had the in German it says eidesstattliche Designment of the whistleblower, and of course signed. And he said, "Oh no, yeah, but I haven't mentioned that way." So yeah, you might get in trouble. Just
so you're asking them to
yeah,
sign that
of course, yeah. That's something we do. If we don't have, if we can't get proofs out of papers, we of course try to protect our story by letting us give statements of the people and let them sign it. Well, I think there are some good reasons to build an offshore company in an offshore structure because it's good just alone for your business. I would say, and then you have two other big blocks. One is to discover the true owner of the company and the money that went there, or to hide this money or whatever you get in that company from several people. There are people setting up an offshore company because they don't want that their heritage or their wife or their former wife get knowledge of it. That's maybe 20%. Let's say 10 to 15% are legal business constructors that make sense in a way. And I would say the whole rest is to discover the true owner of the company. Mostly with a tax background to avoid taxes, or with a criminal background, to show who act in a way. We are very deeply looking into the companies that are involved. Normally, if money has been running, money runs through companies, and you of course have these companies mostly then in Switzerland or in any offshore construction. And we try to look behind those structures, look if these companies have been involved in other crime, look who are the people that set up these companies, have they been involved in other crimes or in other business with people involved in that story. So you can find a lot. It's mostly not the direct way you found this. That's business. That's in Germany we would say das Berufsgeheimnis. That's something I would never talk about.
Yeah.
But there are maybe ways to do that.
But there are the ways.
There are ways, yeah.
Are you using only the legal way to discover the way of the money?
Of course, we only use the legal way. I would go illegal way. The question is if it's always ethically. The question is if you get a person that is involved and you say you may be the problem or the solving of the problem. What do you would like to be? That means you of course put a little pressure on persons, but not too much. You can't say, you can't treat them in a way. So, would I go away with which is ethically not as proper as I would normally do stories? To push a story that is really important, that has a big impact, that has a big social, political impact, that grows up a big scandal? I would think about it. We are trying to give to tell our readers what we think might be the truth, and we try to prove that and try to find as much proofs for it as we can. And of course, we are open to other arguments, and we are of course bringing the other arguments into the story, but we are still saying, okay, for us it looks like that this people is telling the truth, and there's a lot of evidence that this people is lying, this one is lying, something like that. Changed totally the image of investigative journalism. A couple of years ago, an investigative journalist was a lowly wolf acting for himself, traveling around, meeting people, getting 1 or 2 files like that with, let's say, 1,000 pages. Now you get information on a stick, and this stick, and on this stick you have 20, 30, 40, 50,000 pages. Within Spiegel you have to cooperate. You have to put people, specialists together. Specialists that know a lot about taxes, specialists about economics. You know, people that know how to handle such big data. So you have to start creating teams instead of working by your own. You have to share information. You have to trust people to share information within your newsroom. And of course, all these leaks show that money and business is international. So you have to share information with other partners outside your newsroom to discover things. You can't, even as Spiegel, you can't do an investigation in France or in Belgium or in Italy or in Spain or in England. You have to find people who work with you on that story. We first have seen that at the big Siemens corruption story, where we had a lot of information from the German authorities and from our sources how the money went out of Siemens. We know that the money went to, for example, Greece, but we didn't know what happened in Greece. And we couldn't get that up with our own correspondent who normally works on culture, on literature, or whatever. You need someone who's working the same way than you do in another country. So if you share information, it's okay. We know the story from the German side. You maybe know that story from the Greek side. If we share information, we both have an advantage out of it. So this is something that totally changed. The thing that changed is that you have to work with this amount of documents, 5-6 million pages. So you have to have programs that gives you a chance to filter information, to find a story. If you get a couple of years ago, if you went somewhere and you get documents, all the sub-documents have been searched and have been filled together, and you could be sure you could make a story out of these documents. But if you get 5 million documents, you have to search for the story. Where the hell is the story in this document? Because, well, they're coming from all over. There are a lot of documents who are absolutely uninteresting for you, but you have to find the nuggets. It depends on, I think normally we will working with some stories with 3-4 people, but even bigger investigation would come up to 6-7 people. More is not, in my opinion, is not working for a longer street of time. Of course, you can do a short story saying something bumping up like the attacks in Paris, and of course you throw 10 people into that story to get as much information as you can. But on a longer run investigative stories, it didn't make sense to let more than 6 people work in it, because you have to coordinate them. They have to look who is looking at what. We have one guy who is a very good writer who has the hand to write a complex story, a complex things in a wonderful way of that you love to read it. You have people that are very good in opening other people. You need people that more organizing the investigation and more have the criminalistical and forensic view on things, and say, okay, there might be something wrong. We should do more investigation on that part of the story. So, like in all business, it becomes more and more sophisticated, and everyone, you're working with more specialists and less generalists than some years before. Der Spiegel has about 70 fact checkers, specialists coming from every people that are scientists, people that have studied medicines, people that have studied law, all that you would expect, history, politics, of course, and these guys normally have to do a fact checking. If we have written a story and the story is finished, the story is going two ways. One is going to the lawyer to have a look at it. If we have any legal problems with that, if we have asked all the questions to the people we are writing about, and on the other hand we have the fact-checking department, which is looking after each name. Is it written? We have to show them every document that we have, and they have a look, does it make sense what we have written, is it right, do we have the right figures and right numbers and all that. And we as investigative working journalists bring those fact checkers very early into the story. That means if we are knowing that we do one story, I will call one of the colleagues there and say, okay, can we talk? We are trying to do a story about, let's say, corruption in a big company. This are the documents that we have until now. And then the fact checkers, look at these documents. They even assist us by looking in the archives, looking at the databases to get more information around. And they finally have a look at the story if it's written, to do the fact checking and to see if all the proofs are right.
We really get many informations, and we have many people in the authorities who say, okay, maybe it's, even if it's confidential, I think you should know it, so I give it to you. And we don't have authorities who are hunting whistleblowers or media. Sometimes they start right now, but in general, I would say we are in a good situation with the freedom. In general, I would say yes, because the Prime Minister is really a person of public interest, and I think nearly everything he's doing is kind of public or of political, right? So if if it would be the case that he's, I don't know, talking to his prostitute or whatever, then it's a big question. Then I think we would say no, it's not for the public interest what he's doing in his very private life. But as long as he's talking to anybody related to politics or economics or whatever, of course I would say you should